What's up YouTube? BG here again with another top 5 for Overwatch. This week we're going to be talking about which characters I feel are the hardest to play in the game. Now to clarify, this isn't which characters have the highest skill cap, this is simply which characters are the hardest to pick up and immediately start doing well with. That said, let's jump right into it. Coming in at number 5 we've got Mercy. Mercy is a character that, as a support, does really low amounts of damage. And she also has very low hit points. She's also a big priority target for enemy teams to try and take out. All of this can combine into a pretty frustrating experience when you're playing Mercy for the first time, because you're going to be singled out and you don't have any real way of fending off of enemies. You know, an enemy Genji or Tracer or Hanzo, anything is going to basically kill you. She does have a pistol, but she has to actually switch her weapon type to even use it, and when she switches it, it also has a low rate of fire, has to lead the target, and does low damage, so it's not a very effective weapon. A good Mercy player is an excellent addition to any team though, so it's worth putting in the effort to learn the character, and just even if as a backup, even if she's not your main, because she can do a lot for your team. Getting Mercy's ult off on even just 2 people can completely turn the tide of a fight, but you need to know when to use those ultimates. Sometimes those 2 people aren't the ones you need to res. You know, maybe it's just another character that was too far behind enemy lines, and because they're dead, if you zoom into range to try and res them, you're gonna get yourself killed, then you're not gonna have your ult to resurrect the guys that are actually carrying your team. Mercy takes the number 5 spot on our list because, unlike some of the other characters, she can become somewhat effective just by being a pocket character. And by pocket character I mean she follows one member of the team around. This is usually going to be either a Bastion that she's damage boosting, or a Pharah that's zooming around in the air and gives her the mobility she needs to stay out of damage from the other team. Tracer takes the number 4 spot on list because she's in that bracket of the lowest hit point characters in the game. She also has a pretty short effective range. Her weapons will unload their entire clip and have a huge spread in that 1 second. They have really fast reload time so you can keep them going, but the spread is huge, making them only effective up close. Cooldown management is also a very important aspect of Tracer. Because you don't have the hit points to survive a straight brawl, you have to use your abilities to both get in and get out of damage. Your low hit points also make it very difficult for you to be effective at holding or pushing objectives. She's okay at zooming behind an enemy line and killing a squishy or 2, but if you're not a very good Tracer, or you're just picking the character up, you won't know when you should be doing that or when you should be on the point, and an extra body on the point is probably going to be more useful than a Tracer trying to kill people in the back lines and failing. Tracer's ultimate is also kind of difficult to use for new players. It doesn't do enough damage to kill a lot of the bigger characters. It also needs to be stuck to someone to be really effective, which can be difficult to aim. It also has a rather small area of effect blast, and some characters such as Mei can even just use their own abilities to counteract it. This is another reason why Tracer makes the list, is she's easily countered. It feels like half the cast are hard counters to Tracer. This makes Tracer difficult to pick up because there's probably an unintentional counter or 2 on the enemy team, whether it be a Mei, a Winston, a Sniper, or a Pharah. At number 3 we have Zaria. Zaria has the most hit points and survivability of any of the characters on our list today, but for a tank, she's actually the squishiest. Because of this, Zaria doesn't fill the tank role very well, and is actually more often relegated to a support tank or an off tank for most teams. Unfortunately, your teammates don't always know this, and will sometimes still not pick an actual tank for the team. Zaria is also a cooldown reliant character. Not in the sense as Tracer, where you want them to be up all the time, but in the sense that you need to know exactly when to use them. Because of her passive ability where taking damage on your shields increases the amount of damage you do, you need to utilize them properly, or you're going to constantly be stuck in a situation where you do very little damage. Also for new players, because you're going to be dying a lot while learning the character, this resets the passive you earn, so even if you were to stay alive and build up a little bit of shield, the next time you die, you lose that benefit. This can create a very frustrating experience for a new player, who is going to feel like they just never can help out the team. Zaria's weapons are also pretty awkward compared to the rest of the cast. Zaria's left click is a straight beam, which unlike a lot of the other beam weapons in this game, doesn't lock onto your opponents. Her right click is kind of like a grenade ability, and that's what most new players will find themselves using more often. And finally, her ultimate. Her ultimate isn't like most other characters where you can click a button and get a big reward out of it. For her, she needs to click a button and then have teammates get the big reward out of it. So for a new player, you need to be able to enable your team, not necessarily get the big score yourself. Genji takes the number 2 spot on our list. He follows the trend of low hit point characters that rely on a lot of their mobility and map knowledge in order to do well. Like Zaria and Mercy, he also has multiple modes for his weapons, and that means you need to know when to use which one at the right time. A single shuriken hitting a target's not going to be much more than an annoyance, but if you can land all 3 shurikens on the same target, you actually do put out quite a bit of damage. Speaking about modes and damage, Genji's ultimate takes away his shurikens and turns him into a purely melee character. This means you need to change your playstyle to adapt to the situation. Genji's playstyle is best suited, much like Tracer's, to getting behind the enemy line and killing their softer characters. This means that once again, if you're a new Genji player, you'd probably be much better serving your team if you were just playing as Reinhardt and standing on the objective holding right trigger, compared to running around in their enemy back lines failing to kill anybody. And while Genji is a difficult character to learn how to play, he's also a very rewarding character once you have learned how to play him. While playing as Genji, when you make that cool play, you really feel like you accomplished something. And there is very little in Overwatch that's as rewarding as killing a Bastion with your reflex skill. Number 1, Zenyatta. So Zenyatta has, again, the lowest amount of hit points in the entire game. He's tied with Tracer at 150. He also has no mobility options. This means if someone wants to kill you, there's really not much you can do about it, because you're a support. You're not designed to take or deal damage. Now Zenyatta does deal a little more damage than most support characters, and he can actually kill a tank pretty quick if he gets his debuff on them. However, his damage is limited in a couple ways. The first is that it requires that debuff. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't hit very hard at all. He's pretty much ignorable. The second is he has no mobility, so if someone wants to run away from him, there's nothing he can really do about it. And he does need to keep vision on his targets or the debuff goes away. There's also the fact that his weapons require you to lead your target. Now, for some people, that might feel right at home, and instantly hitting wherever you aim isn't that great. But for the vast majority of players, where you put your crosshairs, that's where you expect the damage to be dealt. Another reason why Zenyatta is on this list is because he's a support, and that means he's a priority target. Any organized team, or even other pugs with smart players on the team, they're going to know that they need to kill you first. Leaving you up is a bad idea. So as a new player trying to pick him up, it can be very frustrating when the entire enemy team is trying to kill you as soon as the fight starts out. But to sum it up, being a priority target, having support levels of damage, having no mobility options, and having the least hit points in the game makes Zenyatta the hardest character to pick up in Overwatch. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks so much for watching the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also be sure to follow me on Twitch, where we're going to be giving away a copy of Overwatch this week. Have a good one.